What is going on, everybody? We have a ton of brand new bowling balls that were just recently announced by the 7 brands of Brunswick. We have 6 bowling balls, 2 extra ones. We'll talk about those a little bit later, why they're extra, but 6 reactive bowling balls that are coming out. There's a lot of hype behind these. They're trying to match the hype of that IQAI from Storm, and you're going to see it, of course, with the first one that's on the page right now. That is the GB5 Pearl. We're going to cover all the other ones in this video. We're going to get full previews, what I'm seeing from them. I've seen a couple reviews already, and then we can talk about those and why this is one of the most unique bowling ball drops as a bundle in the last couple of years. But make sure to subscribe if you haven't. It helps me out a ton, and then you get notified whenever any of our new videos go live. But let's get right into it with the GB5 Pearl. The GB5 Pearl looks very similar to the original GB5, just shiny, a little bit of purple in there, a little bit of a lighter blue. So as we know, the GB5 is one of the greatest, if not the greatest line from Ebonite Bowling. This is a perfect staple in your bag, middle of the bag ball. The original GB5 has been doing really, really well. I thought it was one of the best balls released in 2024. It is just very smooth, very predictable. It fits in that medium smooth category if you're a fan of the channel. Just a very good symmetrical solid ball. Well, they're trying to one up / have a complement to that GB5 with the GB5 Pearl. So why is this one different? Really basic. It's a pearl cover stock instead of a solid. It has the same exact GB5 core that we all know and love. We'll zoom in a little bit, so if you guys want, you can read this. But it has the same exact GB5 core, 248 RG, 048 differential. That is the same with almost every game breaker in history. So this is exactly what we would expect. It has HK22 GB 12.7 Pearl cover stock. So it is an HK22 cover stock. The original GB5 did not have HK22 on it. It was just a flat no HK22 cover stock, which was odd. The goal of that was to make the ball hook a little bit earlier than its counterparts that have HK22. Generally, HK22 makes a ball hook a little bit later, be a little more dynamic down lane. That was Brunswick's answer to try to hit what Storm has been doing for the last couple of years, and Brunswick really succeeded. HK22 is one of the most successful things in bowling balls, successful upgrades in bowling balls in the last couple of years. But it is HK22 GB 12.7 Pearl. So what I wanted to do is the big comparison. Well, we had the Gamebreaker 4. How similar are they going to be? The Gamebreaker 4 had GB 12.0 Pearl. This also did not have HK22. The GB4 Pearl came out 3 years ago. So I'm noticing a theme now that I look at it, that every 3 years, maybe we have a new GB Pearl come out. Kind of interesting. But about 3 years prior, we had this GB4 Pearl 12.0 cover stock versus 12.7. With that, we can expect that this ball is going to hook a little bit earlier, be a little bit smoother. HK22 might change that a little bit. Overall, I assume it's going to be a bit more dynamic than that GB4 Pearl. The GB4 Pearl wasn't well liked. The hybrid is really the one that stuck around. That one won a couple PBA titles, has done phenomenal. Still actually in the lineup and has not been discontinued to this day, which is shocking. But this one really seems to be just exactly what we expect. It's just a Pearl version of the GB5. It's going to go further down lane, be a little bit sharper. So your transition, if you enjoy all the Game Breaker bowling balls, GB5 is first out of the bag. Absolutely. 100% going to be the first one out of the bag. Second ball out of the bag is going to be the GB4 hybrid. That's going to come right after, be a little bit later, a little bit sharper than the GB5. After that is going to be the GB5 Pearl. That's going to be the latest and the sharpest of the 3. What this one will really compare to and what I'm excited to see a comparison of, hopefully we see it somewhere. I know, unfortunately, there aren't as many staffers or aren't as many content creators that compare the Brunswick stuff against each other, but I'm really hoping to see the Scorpion Strike and the GB5 Pearl against each other. I think that could be a really cool comparison. The core numbers are very, very similar. The covers are very, very similar. So we'd really like to see that. But if you're looking for that middle of the bag, medium shiny option, this GB5 looks to be a really, really good choice. Now, what I am doing different in this video is we're going to look at the price while we look at the bowling ball instead of saving that all till the end. GB5 Pearl coming in. No, I don't want 5% Bowler's Mart. Coming in at $140. This is arguably dirt cheap at the end of the day. That is the cheapest that you are going to find a medium and sharp bowling ball. For context, let's look up the Zen 25 for a minute, which I think will be pretty close comparison. $175. There's a $35 difference between the GB5 Pearl and the Zen 25. This price is honestly really shocking. In the US, we just had some tariffs go into effect with Mexico and Canada. All Brunswick bowling balls are poured in Mexico, so I expected this price to jump a little bit, but so far it hasn't. So we'll see if this changes in the coming weeks. But that is really the Gamebreaker 5 Pearl. This is the most basic, or not the most basic, but the most clear-cut bowling ball out of this list of 6. Now, let's get into some interesting ones. First one up, this is arguably the most hyped ball on the list, the Hammer Special Effect. The Hammer Effect finally has a counterpart that has the same core. The Effect Tour had a different core to it, different covers to it. It was basically a different ball in general. It really wasn't an effect at all. They just had the effect name on it. This one is an actual effect. It has that Huntsman core. It has a different cover stock though. So we're going to get into it a little bit. Let's zoom in just a bit. The Hammer Special Effect is the follow-up to the iconic effect, Hammer's most successful high-performance ball in decades. That is a wild sentence because the Black Widow is right there. So that is a crazy thing to see. So it's the same Huntsman core found in the original effect. We're going to go over that in a minute. It has HK22 cohesion solid cover stock though. So let's look at the numbers quick. So we have the numbers down here, 247 RG, 050 differential, 017 intermediate differential. This is very middle of the road for any core. It's asymmetrical core in bowling. It's not absurdly strong, but it's not on the weak side either. That effect was loved by so many because it was a very middle of the road asim pearl ball, possibly a little bit stronger than some others, but that thing was phenomenal, sold insanely well. This one has same exact core. The cover stock, like I mentioned, HK22C. So for anyone who doesn't know, I just talked about HK22 for a minute. HK22C is a different additive, is a different structure of the cover stock. I don't know the science and the physics behind it or the chemicals behind it, but what it does is it makes a ball go even longer and even sharper off the spot. Some really good bowling balls in the past have HK22C. The Brunswick Vaporize is one that has it, and there's many, many others in the lineup that now have HK22C. Black Widow Mania also has it, which a lot of people like. So this one is a solid version of HK22C, and that also means it is coming out of the box shiny. This is a shiny solid, so we're not getting a dull solid effect, unfortunately. Apologies to anybody who wanted that. I know there's a lot of people out there who wanted it. This is not a hybrid one. This is actually a shiny solid. So this is going to be really, really unique. This is going to put it into a spot where it's going to hook later than a Black Widow 3.0. It's going to hook later than a Pure Envy, but it's going to hook earlier than the Hammer Effect or the Black Widow Mania. So something really, really cool that Hammer does that the other brands I wish they would do is they have a nice little chart that showcases what is the strength of the bowling ball. So they give numbers to the cover stock, the core, and the finish of the bowling ball. Now this finish number can change very easily. If you sand the ball, it goes up. If you polish it, it goes down. And it comes out to 27.75. I did a little bit of comparison before this, and that makes it a little bit stronger than the Black Widow Mania, a little bit stronger than the effect, but by very, very little, and a little bit weaker than most of the other asymmetrical solid balls. They're all very close though. But this one's going to be very, very interesting. Let's go back to the colorway because this colorway is absolutely gorgeous. This is very well done by the Hammer reps for making a colorway this good. Purple, red, grape, and black. It's a 4-way colored bowling ball yet again, just like the effect was. The effect was, I believe, the first one in a very long time to have 4 colors, if I'm remembering right. And then this one also does. So good job. But overall, looking at a lot of the numbers, they don't say much about the bowling ball. The special effect is ease through the front of the lane slightly earlier, giving you an edge when there's oil, and you need a bigger hooking shiny ball. Designed for versatility, the special effect is your go-to ball for consistent high performance. Now, the biggest question is going to be, if you want a true solid effect, how does it do if it's at like 2000 grit? That's going to be a really good question that I hope we get to see on a couple of reviews. Overall, it should in general be weaker than all the Black Widows, but stronger than all the shiny balls. It's a nice little in between. However, the Pure Envy already exists in that spot a little bit, so this is just a different shape to that Pure Envy. So if you like your original effect and you want something a little bit earlier, I'd recommend checking this out. Otherwise, there are a lot of other good hammer balls that come into play in that slot. But I believe this ball is going to sell really well solely because it is another effect, and the effect did so well early last year. Now, let's check out the price. Here is the special effect on Bowlersmart. I don't want 5% again, thank you. $195. $195 is about the max price that Brunswick offers on a bowling ball. It's about the same max price that Storm also offers on a bowling ball. So this is going to be the top of the top listing for price. Pretty much expected. I mean, if we look at the OG effect, it is at the effect tour is at 195 even, and the original effect is also 195. So this is still max price for a lot of those asymmetrical bowling balls from the Brunswick brands. Very much expected. That's a-okay, but this one's probably gonna have a lot of hype. You're gonna see a lot of people throwing this one, especially with the World Series of Bowling coming up. Currently, actually, right now it's running. We're in the Scorpion Championship today on what is today, Tuesday, March 4th. So this one's going to be really, really interesting. Excited for that one, but let's keep moving. We are going to stick with hammer bowling, move over to another hammer ball. That is the Hammerhead. I have a lot to say about this one. I have a lot to say about this bowling ball. So the Hammerhead is the latest mid-performance powerhouse from Hammer. Yeah. Spheroid core, 2000 grit. It's going to be a symmetrical solid bowling ball. So 2000 grit, symmetrical solid. There's something very interesting. The colorway is gorgeous. The Hammerhead is an odd name. Interesting choice, but that's fine. I'm not in the marketing game. I'm not in the sales department. But we have this core, right? Look at this core, nice and rounded. Spheroid core is what they call it. It's been used in the past. Give me just a minute. Let's find. Oh, do they not have it on here anymore? Oh no, they do. Huh. It is eerily ironic to the Game Breaker core. And the other thing is, the numbers are identical. 248048 is exactly what the Game Breaker core is. So this Hammerhead has the almost same core as the Game Breaker series. Virtually the same core. The cover, we have no idea how close they'll be. Looking at this ball, looking at where Hammer has it at a 10 in cover stock, my guess is it's a slightly weaker Game Breaker 5 and a slightly weaker Hazmat Solid. I'm hoping it's a bit weaker, but looking at everything, it might be a little close to the Hazmat Solid and the Game Breaker 5, which is going to be a little bit interesting. It's going to fit in that medium and smooth category. Really, really good spot that needs to be filled more and more. I recommend everybody in the world has a ball in that medium smooth category. Very important spot because it's usually the middle of the bag for a lot of people. But otherwise, 248RG, 048 differential, like I said, the exact same specs as the Game Breaker series. It's going to come in a little bit after the Hazmat Solid and the Game Breaker 5. It's going to come a little bit before things like the Game Breaker 5 Pearl that we just mentioned. It's going to come a little bit before the Ebonite Real Time, the Hammer Scorpion Strike, a lot of the medium and shiny bowling balls. Looking at some reviews of this or some videos of this bowling ball, it does look really good going down the lane. Super smooth, a little more continuous than expected. It honestly looks just like a Rotogrip Rockstar right now. So this might be the answer to the Rockstar that Brunswick fans were looking for, because the other balls that they have in that category really are a little too strong to compare to the Rockstar or the Phase 2. Like the GB5 is just a little too early to be like a Phase 2. Same with the Hazmat Solid. However, this Hammerhead might be that answer that they're really looking for. This might be that step down from those stronger symmetrical solid balls. So if you're looking for something for that category, this Hammerhead could be a really good choice, especially because we look at the price and another 5% off, $150. Now that's not too bad. The GB5 is cheaper. However, it is much less expensive than the Hazmat Solid, which is $170. This is $20 cheaper than the Hazmat Solid, and it's probably going to be very similar in comparison down lane. It's probably going to be a little bit weaker, but that's actually a really good price for a symmetrical solid bowling ball. I could see this one being the low-key sleeper of the bunch, because in Brunswick, whenever Brunswick releases a bunch of products, there's way too many for all of them to sell well. They usually have one, maybe two that sell really well, and the rest kind of flub out. I could see this Hammerhead being one that unfortunately flubs out, but should be really good. The Ebonite Real Time was a good example. That ball was amazing. However, it didn't sell very well. It sold okay, but it didn't sell amazing because there was a different, bigger ball that got released at the time. So I could see this Hammerhead being similar, where it's really good. However, it's just kind of ignored. So if you're looking for a medium smooth ball, you're a big Brunswick fan, and you don't own things like the Phase 2, the Rockstar, even the Lethal Venom, you might be able to look at a Hammerhead. I might be trying to pick up a Hammerhead. This is one that I'm really excited for in this entire bunch. But let's keep going. We have a couple other really, really weird bowling balls coming up. This one's a little less weird. This one's pretty cut and dry, exactly what you expect. It is called the Deviate Dark Side. Really cool colorway, really cool logo, really cool everything looking at the ball. All we have here, ball designed for bowlers who don't use a thumb hole. Remember, there's an asterisk on that. It doesn't mean if you throw it one-handed, you can't throw this bowling ball. It just means the core was specifically designed so that when you drill fingers into it, it doesn't actually change the core numbers. You can still drill a thumb in it. It's a-okay. But let's look. Deviate's latest innovation in the no thumb category. So Deviate, for everyone who doesn't know, Brunswick brands are really trying to specialize in certain things. Deviate is specializing as the company that only makes stuff for no thumb bowlers, for two-hand bowlers, for one-hand no thumb bowlers. That's what they're specializing in. Otherwise, Columbia 300, specializing specifically in throwback bowling balls. They only make throwback balls anymore. A little odd. I don't know how well it's doing, but that's just what they do. Deviate is trying to do this. Radical is doing their own thing. Hammer is doing their own thing. Brunswick is doing their own thing. But let's look at this ball. So whether it's optimized for no thumb players, Dark Side is a fantastic choice. Okay, for traditional, Duality Core is the lowest differential in the no thumb category. Less flare and a new motion in this category. So that is something that they hit really, really well because Deviate has a lot of strong equipment right now. And then they have things like the Chill Pearl, which the Chill Pearl might have been discontinued. I can't really remember. They didn't have much weak equipment. Now, if you look at the RGN differential of this ball, we have a 2.48 RG and an 0.36 differential. What this means is that the ball is going to be pretty weak. This core is similar to what the Venom Shock core actually is. So it's a little bit of a weaker bowling ball. And if we scroll a little bit down, we see it is a hybrid bowling ball. Insider is one of their weaker cover stock formulas. And then it's hybrid. So it's actually, and then also shiny. It has that factory compound on it. So it's going to be a symmetrical shiny bowling ball. This one is probably going to fit in between medium sharp and weak and sharp. I could see it being similar to the new IQ-AI or like the Road Warrior, both from Storm. That's probably where this one's going to be closest to. It is a brand new offering. They can do a lot of cool things based on this dark side. They can do dark side, light side, other names here with side in it. It's going to work really well. I'm going to throw you guys to the info sheet quick so we can see where it compares to the other bowling balls from Deviate. So it is by far and away the weakest bowling ball on the list. The Chill Pearl is not on the list anymore. May that ball rest in peace. This one's a little bit close to the Mantra. The Mantra is an ASIM though, so I don't know. That's a little bit shocking that it's that weak. I thought it'd be a little bit stronger. But if we see Wicked Collision, Hater, Troublemaker, Solid, Heckler, all on the strong side. Medium side, we have the Mantra, and then the dark side and nothing on the light oil end. So in the no thumb category, this is going to be the weakest bowling ball that we have, which is awesome. If you're somebody who's really loved the Troublemakers, the Heckler, the Hater, things like that, I'd look at this dark side. It's going to be the weakest bowling ball you can get, which is awesome, because weak equals cheaper price point. $145 for this bowling ball. Little pricier than the GB5 Pearl. It's only $5 though. And this one seems to be a really good bang for your buck bowling ball. Only $145, a little bit weaker shiny bowling ball. So if you're a two-hand bowler and you want to stick to the Brunswick brands, this might be a better choice. The Hammer Anger is probably going to be the closest bowling ball to this one. The Anger is coming in at $150, so a little pricier. The Anger, however, is going to hook a heck of a lot later and be a lot sharper. This one's going to be much smoother and rounder. And usually you want a ball that's going to be a little bit rounder, especially if you have a high rev rate. You don't want a ball being like a hockey stick down lane, leaving a bunch of 2.810s as a righty or a bunch of big 4s or things like that. So that is the Deviate Dark Side. We're going to move on to the final two bowling balls on the list, and they are very, very similar. Apologies for the bright yellow in the background. Radical, I would love if you changed your colors on your website. This is so bright. It's so bright, man. But we have the Torpedo. The Torpedo is a brand new HK22C plus Pearl asymmetrical bowling ball. This is what Radical does. They make asymmetrical bowling balls. Super, super strong core on this guy. 248 RG, 054 differential, 017 intermediate differential. The strongest core we've seen on the list today. One of the stronger cores in the Brunswick lineup right now. And then it also has this lovely, I'm getting a spam call, apologies. And then it has this lovely HK22C plus Pearl cover stock that's going to push it much further down lane, make it very, very sharp. So that is really what this Torpedo is trying to do, is be a new asymmetrical Pearl ball in the lineup. If we look at the current balls that Radical is producing, Drum roll, please. There we go. We have the Snapshot, which is much weaker. Outer Limit solid. The Hitter Pearl is still here, which is surprising. That's the only other ASIM Pearl on the list. The original Outer Limits got canned. The Hitter Pearl is much weaker than this one, so this is actually going to be the strongest ASIM Pearl that Radical has. So that's going to be really cool. They have a very cool retro look to this torpedo. This feels like this ball should have been released in like 2004. So looks kind of cool. Now, Radical isn't ever the top company with making skid snap equipment or things that are super angular. So I'll be very curious where this one lines up, or if it's going to be more similar to like the Motive Evoke Hysteria, where it is an ASIM Pearl. However, it's a little rounder, a little earlier, and a little smoother than other balls on the market. It seems like they're trying to make this one super aggressive down lane, though. That's really what the marketing has pushed for. So that must be what they assume it's going to look like. I'll be curious to see this one on the lanes a little bit. Radical stuff, like I've mentioned in the past, the shiny stuff never is amazing. Their solid stuff is really good. The shiny stuff is a little hit or miss. So I'll be curious to see what it looks like. But looking at the price, it is coming in at that top price of $195. Really, really high price point for this guy. It's going to be the max price point that Brunswick offers. So if you need a new asymmetrical Pearl ball, you don't like the effect, you don't like the vaporize, you don't like the Black Widow Mania, this is another option for you. Unfortunately, it's another ASIM Pearl that Brunswick is having, and they have that area a little bit diluted, in all honesty. It's a little oversaturated. There's a few too many bowling balls in that asymmetrical Pearl slot that are really, really good from them. So this one's really going to have to be amazing for it to actually get some press time. And then we're ending the video on the weirdest bowling ball on the list, the Torpedo Direct Hit. Now, I have a bone to pick with this bowling ball, so let's read about it quick. Torpedo Direct Hit, newly formulated low friction cover. Like the concept of the Spy, it has the same dynamic core as the Torpedo, low friction cover, so it can be used on dry lanes or as a spare ball. That means the cover stock is polyester. It is not exactly saying that in low friction reactive. However, it is trying to act like a weak, very weak plastic bowling ball. That is their goal with it. So this is probably going to be the weakest cover stock that you'll see on the market. Now, the Radical Spy was odd. It was a plastic ball with an asymmetrical core. It worked for some people. Highly rev dominant, wanted to play right up the boards. If you wanted to do that, the Spy was the perfect option. It did a lot of weird things because it was plastic, so it acted like urethane. It wasn't really great for being able to transition a lane. In my opinion, it was a really good in case of emergency ball. Now, a lot of viewers of mine absolutely like that ball, and that's great for them. It's a very niche bowling ball, though. It fits in very specific situations when they're absolutely toasted and you have no other options and you want to play right. Usually when they're toasted, you don't want to play that far right, but so be it with that one. Now this one, very strong core, same exact core numbers as we mentioned, one of the strongest cores that Brunswick is offering right now. And then it has this low friction reactive cover stock. It also has factory compound and then factory polish on it. So this thing comes out of the box super, super shiny. The weirdest thing about this bowling ball is it actually hooks quite a bit down lane. So Radical had their Throwbot video already come out, so I watched a bit of it. This ball is actually hooking from about 10 to 15 at the arrows, which is kind of surprising. It's actually continuing. It's not leaving flat corner 10 pins. Now, you know, Radical, of course, was going to cut those from the teaser video. You don't want to show misses in your company's teaser video for a new ball. It doesn't look good. So I'm very curious about this one. I hope some unbiased reviewers pick this one up and try it out. I'm very excited to see what it does. I don't have high hopes for it. I never have high hopes for a ball like this where it's so mismatched. The core is absolutely massive, but the cover is absolutely minuscule and tiny, very, very weak. So I'm very curious on this bowling ball. I don't have high expectations. However, I didn't think the Spy was going to sell very well, and it was still in the lineup, / might still be in the lineup. So what do I know? I'm just a little old YouTuber. Who knows? Looking at the actual price of the bowling ball feels a little bit better. It is $140. That's not bad. It's a plastic ball, though. They say it can be used for your spares. So who would I recommend this ball to? If you're highly rev dominant and you want a bowling ball to play up the boards with, or at least further right, this can be a fantastic option. If you are somebody who can flatten your hand a little bit and want to use this for spares, but also for playing straighter, this is going to be a great option. If you want a spare ball, get a T-zone, get a white dot. they're much cheaper. You can't throw them on the fresh, you can't throw them on the burn that well, but they're going to help you pick a lot of spares and they're going to go a lot straighter. This one is going to hook a little bit when you throw it at spare, so be ready for that when you pick it up because the core is so big. Coming in at $140, this is going to be the second most expensive plastic ball on the market. The Motive Sniper is still taking the lead on that one at about $200 retail, which is still a wild choice. But the Radical Torpedo Direct Hit, while I adore this colorway is beautiful, Radical. You did so good on that. I'll be very curious. This is one I'm most curious about. My expectations are low, so I hope they get blown out of the water. No pun intended to it being torpedo and there being a little bit of a wave on this guy. But that is the Radical Torpedo Direct Hit, and those are the 6 bowling balls coming out from Brunswick Bowling. We have 2 others. We have a new Rhino colorway that's actually dull, which is kind of surprising. We also have a new Raw colorway. So not a big deal. I don't really think I need to showcase those in the video. If you guys want a full video for that Raw or that Rhino, let me know. I don't think those ones really fit in these main 6 bowling balls, but there are technically 8 bowling balls coming out, but really 6 of them coming out. Now, as you probably have seen on here, March 20th is the release date. Everything's coming out on March 20th. It's the day before the IQ AI releases. If you haven't noticed, Brunswick always releases their bowling balls the day before Storm. That's just what they do. Motive always releases on a random Wednesday. Sometimes they're a week before, sometimes week after. But now we're going to have a really hectic week where we have the Evoke Hysteria, these 6 bowling balls, and then the IQ AI releasing all in the same week. So crazy week for bowling coming up. I'll have a ton of live streams going out and a lot more videos going out about all these bowling balls. So make sure to follow us on all platforms to be able to stay notified when they go live. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching this very long bowling ball preview. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you on the next one.